state have additional evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, the prosecution calls Mel Herman to the stand.
Okay, Mr. Herman, you may approach.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Please state your name to the court, spelling your last.
Of course, my name is Mel Herman, Herman.
Introduce yourself to the court, Mr. Herman. Who are you?
Well, I'm a 30-year-old accountant. I work 2 jobs here in Brook Farms. There's 3 things I love. It's my work, it's the Cubs, and it's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You mentioned you have 2 jobs. What do you work as?
I am a bookkeeper at the local Shop and Save. I also work as the administrator at the All Souls Church.
What goes into administrating the church?
Well, I work there about 10 hours a week. I am also the bookkeeper there. I keep records of financial dealings, business dealings, nothing too crazy.
When did you start working at the church?
It's been about 10 years now. 2008 was when I started working, which was also the time I met Lois May Alcott, also known as Aunt May.
Was Aunt May active in the church?
Oh yes, very much so. She was actually our designated treasurer. She would come after church, count the money, and take it home to deposit it on Monday mornings.
So why was Aunt May the designated treasurer?
That's a good question. It's not exactly standard procedure to have an old lady with a lot of cash walking around, but she had been doing it for as long as anyone could remember. And her family had a big part in creating the church, and she liked to stay involved, so this was something that she could do.
So how did Aunt May go about depositing the money?
Well, her sister-in-law, Sydney, would come up to church and stay over with Aunt May, and then take her to deposit the money on Monday mornings. And if she couldn't do it, Jalen would step in from time to time.
So let's talk about the day of the murder. What happened on October 15, 2017?
October 15th was a Sunday. That was a big day for the church. We were unveiling our new garden that was getting a lot of donations. We actually got 2 times the money that we usually get.
So what did you and Aunt May do after church?
After church, as we always do, around 12:30, we went in to count the money. Devin actually stopped by.
What did Devin want?
Devin initially came in to ask Aunt May if she was ready to go, but we were nowhere near finished. We had a lot of money left to count.
And did Devin notice that you guys had more money to count than usual?
Yeah, his eyes seemed glued to the money. He actually offered to help us count the money, but Aunt May just shooed him away.
So what happened after church? Did you return to church at all that day?
I actually did. I left a folder around 6:55. I returned to the church.
So what happened when you got out of your car?
As I was getting out of my car, walking through the parking lot, I heard a door close behind me, and a man in the distance walking along a path carrying something.
Did this man resemble anybody that you know?
Yes, he was a tall African American fella who looked a lot like Devin Emerson, in fact.
So what happened after you left the church?
After I left the church, I was walking back to my car, and to my surprise, I was almost run off the road by Sydney. She seemed very distracted, worried, if I would say.
Had Sydney's car been there before you entered the church?
No, not at all. When I came in, there was nobody else there. My car was the only one in the parking lot. She couldn't have been there for more than 15 minutes.
So did you notice anything else that was unusual as you were leaving the church?
Yes. Now that you say something, it was there was a burning smell. I didn't know quite what that was. I just assumed it was the burn pile on the other side of the homestead. So I just went.
Mr. Herman, let's talk about your connection to this investigation. How were you involved in this investigation?
Well, Chief Hawthorne approached me. She wanted to know about any information that I had. I was able to lay out the homestead, seeing as I was familiar with the area.
Did you provide her with any other information?
Yes, I was able to identify the purse that Aunt May would always take to church, and I gave her a copy of the weekly collection.
Did the burn pile hold any significance in this case to you?
Yes, it did. It had the purse, but without all the money that Aunt May would have in it, along with the collection form.
Let the record reflect that I'm showing opposing counsel a copy of what has previously been marked as Exhibit 4. Permission to approach the witness with a copy of Exhibit 4.
Yes.
Mr. Herman, do you recognize this document?
Yes, this looks like our weekly collection form from October 15th.
And were you the one who collected this or created this sheet?
Yes, I always do that.
And do you often create this sheet in the regular business of administrating the church?
Every Sunday for as long as I can remember.
At this time, the prosecution moves to enter Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then Exhibit 4 is submitted.
Mr. Herman, can you please read out the amount of cash that was collected that day?
It says here we collected $1,637.
Please read out the exact denominations of money collected that day.
We got two $50 bills, 46 20s, 36 10s, 39 5s, and 62 1s.
Thank you. Permission to approach the witness and tender to the bench?
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, I have no further questions.
Okay. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Herman. My name is Eden Knoop, and I just have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you.
No.
I'd like to begin by talking a little bit about Devin Emerson. Now, Devin had no parents that raised him. Isn't that right?
As far as I know, yes, they weren't very involved.
And Aunt May was the one who took Devin in.
That's true.
And even after leaving for a brief period, Devin came back to her,
Yeah, he came back after a while.
like the prodigal son.
Some could say that. I wouldn't, but some could.
And Aunt May took care of Devin,
Yes, she was very, very kind.
and he lived with her,
That's right.
rent-free.
Yes.
And he hung off of her like she was a queen.
Yeah, he admired Aunt May.
And Aunt May was an incredibly generous person,
She was.
and she loved Devin.
I would say so.
And Devin loved her.
I really can't say.
But he hung off of her like a queen.
Yes, from my experience, he was close.
And he had no motive that you know of to kill her.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Response?
Your Honor, I'm just asking this witness to testify to his own personal knowledge.
Okay, if the witness knows, he may answer. That objection is overruled.
I really can't say.
I'd like to move on to the events on the day of Aunt May's death. Now, that afternoon, you heard Sydney Alcott Walden talking on the phone. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And Sydney is a realtor.
Yes.
And she often took people on tours of the Emerson property.
Yeah, that's what she usually does.
And these people were non-locals.
It was a mixture, some from out of town and some from around here.
And they often appeared wealthy looking.
From what I could see, I was an outsider in this operation, so...
So that morning, you overheard Sydney hollering on the phone.
Yes, she seemed distressed.
And she yelled, "Excellent offer, but try telling her that."
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Do you have a response?
Yes. This is not hearsay because it is not being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. We are not offering this into evidence to show that the offer, whatever offer Sydney Alcott Walden was talking about, was excellent or not, but merely that she was having trouble getting it.
Response?
I arrest, Your Honor.
As long as it's not going to be argued for its truth later in the case, then I will overrule the objection.
I'll re-ask my question. She yelled, "Excellent offer, but try telling her that."
I did hear those words.
And Sydney walked away when she caught you staring.
Yeah, I think she saw me looking over.
And soon after that, you left.
I did.
That night, you headed back over to the church to retrieve the folder.
That's correct.
And on your way there, at about 6:55, you saw a figure leaving Aunt May's house.
That's right.
And it was twilight.
It was dark. It was still visible, but it was dark.
And the person was some distance away from you,
That's true.
leaving out of the back of the house.
That's right.
And no one's car was there but Jalen's.
Yes.
And so you assumed that the person was Devin because Devin had been with Jalen that day.
That's right.
But you never saw that figure again.
Correct.
And you can't say for certain that it was Devin.
I can't.
Now, you went into the church to retrieve your folder.
Yes.
And it took you no more than 15 minutes to do so.
Yeah, I didn't spend much time.
And when you were leaving, you smelled smoke.
That's right.
And you assumed that it was from the burn pile.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to it much.
And you assumed that because you knew that the cookout that was happening would have been long over.
Yes, correct.
But knowing what you know now, you wish that you'd gone to check on Aunt May.
In retrospect, that could have been helpful, I would say.
So, as you pulled out of the church's driveway, you saw Sydney in her car.
Correct.
And she nearly ran you off the road.
Yeah, she seemed distracted.
And you were surprised at the way that she was driving.
I would say so.
And she was coming from the driveway from the main house.
That's right.
And she was driving erratically,
Some would say
recklessly.
recklessly.
And she wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, she seemed to have other things on her mind.
She was driving like someone trying to flee.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think she was trying to flee.
But she was driving erratically away from the house.
She was driving in a reckless manner.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, this witness may be excused.